Hello everyone, and welcome to the Kik Color Cat Bot walkthrough. In this walkthrough, we'll take a simple Echo bot and transform it into a Kik bot that sends pictures and has a custom keyboard. Let's begin. The first thing we're going to need is a router. A router determines which branch of our flow the app will execute. In addition, we're going to need some sort of NLU processor. In this case, we're going to use the Kit AI NLU node. To configure this node, we first must set up an app in NLU. On the NLU page, we're going to create a new app. The app will store information regarding the different intents and will be responsible for determining which intent is present in our input. Back in ChatFlow, it will store the information under the NLU intent field. Once the app has been created, simply deploy, return back to the app list, click on the deployment information, and copy the deployment URL. Now that we've initiated our NLU project, it's time to finish setting up our bot in ChatFlow. So now we want to configure our NLU node with our NLU app. Open up the Kit AI NLU node and paste the deployment URL. At the end of the URL, we want to add open bracket, open bracket, open bracket, payload, close bracket, close bracket, close bracket. By configuring the URL in this way, the NLU app will receive the payload input and run a query to figure out which of our intents is contained in this payload. Great! So we basically have our bot configured. Let's start having our bot do things. First, we need our bot to greet and send off our users. We need to do two things to make that happen. First, we need to add two new intents in our NLU program, hello and bye. The hello intent will classify an utterance as hello. Sample utterances include hello, hi, and good day. The bye intent will classify an utterance as a send-off. Sample utterances include bye, goodbye, and see you later, alligator. Feel free to add more sample utterances into either one of these intents. Okay, so now that we have finished adding our hello and goodbye intents, let's go back to ChatFlow and finish making our bot. We want our bot to greet our users whenever the input has a hello intent and send off our users whenever they input a bye intent. So how can we do that? Well, we're going to need two pairs of inner state nodes. Our first node will handle our greeting case. If our input has a hello intent, NLU intent will be set to hello. So using that information, we can set our constraint as NLU equals hello. In addition, we want this branch to be active whenever our user starts the program. To do that, we simply need an inner node with no constraints other than being activated at the initial state. Similarly, we can do the same for the bye intent. However, we want this branch to end the dialog. So in the state node, click on dialog ends here. This will notify our bot that the dialog should end after this state. These state nodes simply need to have a text output, hello and goodbye respectively. Let's deploy and see if this bot works. And it does. First, we want our bot to provide a random picture of cats whenever the cat intent is activated. So, we can create an inner HTTP request state node flow. For our inner node, we want to configure it to activate for cat intents. Next, we want to access a site called random.cat_meow, which generates random cat pictures. We want the object to be returned as a parsed JSON object. This will make our life a lot easier when processing it in the state node. In the state node, we want to prepare our picture input for Kik. Our state node will contain code that will transform our parsed JSON object into a format that Kik can output. First, we want to set our random cat picture as a response by setting msg.kik.response to msg.payload.file. This variable contains the necessary information to access the picture in Kik. Next, we want Kik to know that our message is a picture, so we will set message.kik.type as picture. Let's deploy this bad boy and test it out. Okay, so what if we try to talk to our bot about something that isn't cats? Well, we need to be able to notify the user that the bot can only talk about cats. So luckily, this can be done in a relatively simple enter state node flow. Our enter node should activate whenever the NLU intent score is less than 0.45. The NLU intent score refers to the probability an utterance actually belongs to that specific intent that it was classified to. Additionally, when the NLU app cannot confidently classify something into an intent, it will classify it as the most broadly defined intent. In this example, it will be our hello intent. To prevent our bot from becoming confused, we will also add to our greeting node an extra condition of an NLU intent score greater than or equal to 0.45. Okay, let's test this bot out. And it works! Alright, next we need to create our Color Cat keyboard. First, let's create our keyboard with a function node. In the body of the function, we want to set our custom options for our keyboard. In Kik, we can simply store the options as an array of strings in the kik.suggestions variable. Great! We need to go back to our NLU app to create a cat color entity. An entity in NLU allows for us to abstract a small portion of the utterance and store it as its own separate variable. For our cat color entity, we want it to accept colors. Okay, so now that we've redeployed our NLU app, let's finish in ChatFlow. So back in ChatFlow, we also need to define what colors are acceptable and where we can get the pictures from. In this case, the only colors we are accepting are red, white, gray, black, and brown. We can do this by adding a bit of code to our greeting state node. First, we'll start off by defining a new variable, msg.kik.color.cat. This will basically be a dictionary containing A, our acceptable answers, and links to cats of that specific color. Next, we want to create a new inner state node flow. The inner node will only activate when NLU intent is equal to cat and entity's cat color is not null. NLU entities is a dictionary containing all the entities that exist in the input. If cat color was present in our input, it would be stored in the NLU entities dictionary as NLU entities.catcolor. From there, we want to create a simple if-else statement that looks a little something like this. Our first variable establishes color from the NLU entities cat color field and transforms it into a format our if-else statement can process. Next, our if statement checks whether the color proposed is in a set of acceptable colors. If so, it will store the appropriate picture as a response and output it back to Kik. Otherwise, it will send a response saying, I can only process red, black, gray, white, and brown cats. Let's deploy and see what happens. And with that, we turned our Echo bot into a cat bot. If you want to play with this bot, feel free to download the JSON file from the tutorial page and import it using the Import JSON feature. Or you can simply create a new project from the sample project, Kik Color Cats. Happy cat choosing!